It's TRB Reviews, part of The Real Brian Show. We are doing spoilery reviews of movies and TV shows that we are watching. But today we are getting into episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. Let's rock it! Yeah, welcome to TRB Reviews, part of The Real Brian Show. Which is, this huge umbrella, by the way, here on this YouTube channel. We've got huge Friday episodes, which it's just crazy fun. End the week right. Friday mashup, just come and listen to us yap on for 40, 50 minutes about absolutely nothing. But here's the thing. We all walk away like going, man, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that in my life. Like maybe I wouldn't even be here right now. I might have given up a long time ago if I didn't have the Real Brian Show in my life. So here we are with... Wait, you hope they would have given up?
Take that however you want.
Man, if you haven't been watching the show, I hope you have not given up on life right now, because we're here.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
You know what? It's all about being positive too. Like this show, we love to be positive. We love to have fun. And with our Friday episodes, it's just been us screwing around, having a good time for 5 years now. But we empower, we encourage, we equip you to go out into the world and have a healthy, positive response. We entertain. I don't know if we entertain. We try to entertain. I'm going to say that. We try. But also it's like, we talk about, perhaps I don't wipe properly. I don't have... So anyway, I don't know, man. We have a good time. But one of the things that we've always loved doing is talking about the movies and the TV shows that we're watching. We did a thing for a while where we would spoil them on our Friday episodes, but because we talked about a lot of other things, people finally said, I love everything you talk about, but I haven't seen this yet. So now I got to pause and come back to your show later after I've seen it, which sometimes people weren't coming back and then they were missing out on a bunch of things. And so we decided that on those Friday episodes, we're going to keep our movie conversations, TV show conversations, just vague, non-spoilery, more of a recommendation. And then we're like, but we got it, man. We got to dive into this stuff because we have so much we want to talk about. These are exciting things that we're watching, and that includes the Book of Boba Fett, which, hey, The Mandalorian came out. We got all excited because, hey, it's finally some extra live action Star Wars, that isn't the movies. It's not animated, even though I love the animated stuff, by the way. And it was kind of hearkening back to some of the old school Star Wars days, So we watched that. We did not talk about it. We talked about it on the show a little bit, but we never really got into this whole spoilery thing. We will now with Mando season 3 whenever it comes out. But with Boba Fett, it's like, you got to get into this, man. It's Star Wars, dude. Clearly I'm a Star Wars #1 fan. So, I love this stuff, man. But anyway, Captain, welcome. Thank you for joining me as well. And I'm glad you and I get a chance to yap on about this stuff because, hey, I can give you my opinion.
We like to
yap. We do. And the thing is, we're going to keep this short. We have plenty to talk about, but hey, I don't know. Let's just dive in, man. So, episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. Now, episode 2 is out. You've seen it. I've not yet. We'll talk about that in the next video. So we're assuming at this point, we only know what's happening with episode 1. So overall thoughts of episode 1. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. That's my overall thought.
That's it.
I thought
it
was very old school Star Wars, which I appreciated. So, there were just, it all takes place on Tatooine, which a lot of Mandalorian did too. Yeah. But, Tatooine is clearly their favorite. Tunisia? They still film there in Tunisia, like they did the original. I don't know, but Tatooine is clearly their favorite locale for storytelling in Star Wars. I just thought it was well made. I thought that the acting was okay. But I thought that the first episode of The Mandalorian was great too, but then Mandalorian took us on this roller coaster ride of good and bad episodes, good and bad. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a little, I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic about the rest of this series.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. In fact, I've seen a couple of comments about the whole, man, just sticking with Tatooine. What about all the other 480 billion planets, that they've got? They've got so many other locales in the Star Wars universe. You go to the canon.
Right.
Nar Shaddaa. We've never seen Nar Shaddaa in a live action movie. Where the heck, man?
Right.
Come on. We've seen all the rest, but it's like, do we need something? And especially with Boba Fett, dude, we need Nar Shaddaa, man. It's a bounty hunter haven.
They mentioned Nar Shaddaa in the second episode, but I digress.
I don't know that yet.
to be fair, the reason they have Tatooine in this first episode of Boba Fett is because that's where his story picks up again.
It's
that's
true.
Where we last saw him in Return of the Jedi, and so it only makes sense that they started out there. Who knows if they'll stay there the whole series? That'll be interesting. So
I would love it if they went around, because they need to. I mean, I'm all for Tatooine too. I'm a big fan of it, but you know, I'm a huge fan of the game Star Wars: The Old Republic. You go around to a lot of different planets. You know, Ord Mantell actually is where you start as a bounty hunter, and that would be interesting to know if they'd ever brought anything to that. Right. There's a lot with the Star Wars canon that, you know, is this, or let me rephrase that. There's a lot that is not in actual official canon, and then there is. So who knows what they're actually going to be doing? I mean, I don't even know if this is official, but I did hear that they brought the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that video game.
Yeah. We played it.
I've heard that they're making that canon. So okay. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's like there's just kind of this whatever. Point is, we're here to talk about Boba Fett. My first impression of the first episode, I hated it, man. I couldn't stand it. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. Someone's like, oh my gosh.
Why are we listening?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Now, I was not blown away, but once again, it's kind of like I don't know. There were some episodes of The Mandalorian that blew me away. Usually Dave Filoni was more heavily involved. I like Dave Filoni a lot. You know, he created Star Wars Rebels. Did he create Clone Wars or I know he was heavily involved. I'm just trying to remember if he actually, I think he did. I don't
remember.
Now I need to go look, but the point is that dude's amazing. I love Dave Filoni. He does some amazing storytelling. He's bringing in a lot of the stuff. I mean, like Grand Admiral Thrawn, he brought in to the canon and stuff like that. So he's done a lot of really, really neat things. And I like Dave Filoni.
I thought Timothy Zahn invented Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Oh no, he invented it, but Dave Filoni brought him into canon. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, got it.
So I'm a huge fan of Dave Filoni, and I know he's part of this show as well. Jon Favreau, I love Jon Favreau, but there have been some weird Mandalorian episodes like we've talked about too. So I'm also
that were written by Jon Favreau.
Exactly,
yeah,
and so
he's all over the place with that. Yeah,
it's weird because he's done some extraordinary stuff in his past. You know, I love him as an actor too. But this is one of those things where it's like, I'm also cautiously optimistic. But again, for the first episode, it's like, you know, I didn't walk out of there going, wow, that was amazing.
Right.
I walked out of there going, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. It's good old fashioned Star Wars. It's got the old, you know, the old school kind of Muppet puppet kind of style things, you know, still where it's not relying on CGI like the prequels did.
True.
Now, a lot of people have complained about that. I love it. To me, it looks ironically more realistic than CGI does. Even if it's like the ears are shaking, I don't care. It works. So now one thing that I'm going to say is the music. And I didn't actually check before we got on, and my apologies on this one, but I'm not a big fan of the Mandalorian, the composition of the Mandalorian. Nothing against the composer. It just isn't my thing. Everyone's like, oh, it's like a spaghetti Western. I know, but it's not Star Warsy, and it just felt kind of weird. And there were parts of the soundtrack of The Mandalorian that, you know, was okay to me, and then parts that just like it grated on me. You know, I appreciate music. I appreciate great music, great soundtracks. Soundtracks are one of my favorite genres to listen to. So now here's the thing: music is also very, very personal and subjective, as we know. Some people absolutely loved the Mandalorian soundtrack and listened to it all the time. Just wasn't my thing. Same with this. The music. It could be the same composer, and like I said, I did not verify this, but it's kind of weird again. It kind of feels that spaghetti Western style again. It's got that weird. I don't know. It's just it's odd to me.
I'm not surprised, since obviously it's the same show creators as Mandalorian. It's
probably the same composer,
and it's a lot of the same settings. Mm-hmm. But I did not notice the score for Book of Boba Fett as much as I noticed it with you on Mandalorian. So they did something that whatever they're doing is innocuous enough to me to not warrant my attention, which is good and bad. So
yeah, no, it's true. And I think that, yeah, if you didn't notice it and it didn't bother you, that's good.
But at the same time, if you didn't notice it, then it was maybe underwhelming. So.
Come on. We noticed, as you know, we noticed Star Wars. we notice John Williams when he gets in there and composes.
Oh yeah,
something.
well that's because it's John Williams. Yeah,
but hey, it's Star Wars. If you want to, I mean, okay, well, there's no more John Williams, but dude, there are people that are equally as good as John Williams that just do different styles. Right. Get them. Now, granted, I'm all for giving someone else a good piece as well, but okay, so his name is Ludwig Göransson. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Göransson?
Okay. Göransson. He did do The Mandalorian, so that would be why. Apparently,
Same
it's
guy.
just
Okay.
His style. So nothing against him at all. Every composer has a style, and I'm not a fan of every composer in the world, but that's just one that it just feels too much like The Mandalorian and not enough Star Wars. But that's me. All right, moving on though. Obviously, at the end of The Mandalorian, you see Boba Fett, of course. Well, I mean, he was in the first couple of episodes, but then you see him towards the end and stuff, and then of course at the very end, they do that lip service of like, hey, there's a new show coming, and he takes the seat of Jabba's throne, which after Jabba died, Bib Fortuna, of course, took over, and then he killed Bib Fortuna, and there we are.
And they showed that at the end of Mandalorian, right? That
was at the end of Mandalorian. And that's where this picks up. He's on the throne, and I'm going to call it the throne, man. I mean, it's totally a throne, man. It's awesome. Yeah. He's there, and of course, his sidekick, bodyguard, Fennec, Ming-na, awesome. Doing a great. I'm glad they got both those guys, and I'm really, to bring back Tamura to play Boba Fett, that's just awesome. Good job, guys.
And it works. It works.
He's awesome. So he's awesome. So awesome. Yeah. So that being said, though, there's a huge issue here that I know a lot of fans had, and that is how Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit. Obviously, we all assumed that he died to be digested for 1,000 years in the stomach of the beast. That was it. He had 15 minutes of fame. I think it was around 15 or 20 minutes of actual screen time, throughout the movies and stuff. And that's it, or then he's a kid, of course, in, episode 2 and stuff. But okay, that was it. But then all of a sudden, Boba Fett became one of the most iconic Star Wars characters of all time. We know this.
Yeah.
So many fanboys.
Starting in the early 80s. So.
Yeah, 1980, man. Fanboys. I'm not a Boba Fett fanboy. I am a fan, but the Boba Fett fanboys and fangirls made up a lot of stories in their minds about this is Boba Fett's journey. He escaped the Sarlacc pit. Here's how he did it, or whatever. They have all of these amazing stories written up in their heads, which is really cool. The problem is the person that wrote the story is Jon Favreau and or Dave Filoni. And so they did not ask us what we thought. So there's that natural tendency where we're going to see what happened and we're going to be, well, that sucked. That's not what I had in mind, So I think there's a little bit of an issue with that, but even from an objective standpoint, because I did not create the story in my head about how he escaped the Sarlacc or anything like that, but it's Boba Fett. He's a bounty hunter. One of the things that you see in a lot of the extended Star Wars stuff, whether it's books, games, whatever, bounty hunters can kill Jedis. That's a pretty big deal, So in fact,
not all bounty hunters, but
no,
Boba
but
Fett
I'm saying that he and Django, for example, were really, really good at being able to take on Jedis and even defeat Jedis. That's not very common when it comes to, Jedis are pretty indestructible most of the time.
Of course. Yeah.
So to be able to have that level of skill and power and everything else was kind of a big deal. Well, that's it. He what did he do? He just he woke up. He's in the, I don't know if he's digesting yet, although I don't know.
Yeah,
how long was he there? We don't know. And then he's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to cut through this and I'm going to pop my hand through the sand and I'm out. And that was it. You're just kind of like,
well, that might be oversimplifying it a little bit. I thought that. Yeah, but especially the last part about coming out of the sand, that's the only part that I took issue with. And I think I'd like to think that's the biggest part that most of the fanboys took issue with was the fact that when he escapes from the Sarlacc, first of all, when they show him inside the Sarlacc, that was a really uncomfortable scene. And I loved it because it was like, oh my God, he's inside the Sarlacc and being digested. And he sees this stormtrooper there that's already dead and whatever. And he's clearly uncomfortable and he's having trouble breathing because it's of the noxious fumes inside the stomach and all that. Mm-hmm. And then he takes something off the stormtrooper's helmet and provides himself with some oxygen so he can breathe a little bit. And then he ignites his flamethrower. And then the next thing you see is his hand popping up in the sand above the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Like most of the way up the slope from the Sarlacc pit. It's like, how did he get from down inside the Sarlacc all the way up that distance to the side of the pit? I mean, it makes so much more sense that when he starts flaming the inside of the Sarlacc, that it spits him up out of the pit and he lands on the side of the pit or something like that. Patooey, they go, I don't like this morsel. It's making me burn, so I'm going to spit it out. But at the same time, that would have made so much more sense than what they ended up doing. So that was the only issue I had with it, was that the end part of that.
It wasn't enough. And I think the other thing too about the Sarlacc, which would make sense, first of all, how long was he there? It looked like he was only there for maybe an hour or two, but we don't know that. He could have been there for quite some time. But the little worm things that come out and all that. Why did those not, when he started flaming, grab him and pull him down further or strangle him to death or whatever? I wish there would have been a little bit more of a fight from the Sarlacc, because there was just there's no fight at all. It was just like, whatever. And then even at the end, when he pops through the sand, the Sarlacc is not moving at all. I think that would have been neat too, where it's like not just him escaping, like there would have been a pretty intense fight between him and the Sarlacc, and he was able to break free at that point as well. Like that would have been kind of cool. They missed a big opportunity with that, considering
huge right out the issue.
Bat. Yeah. And the other
thing, some smoke coming up out of the pit behind him.
Oh yeah.
He burned the thing.
And why didn't he destroy it? Okay, so a couple things though. Something that was interesting, and they showed this, is that he has, I don't know if you noticed this, but when he takes his helmet off, he has all this stuff on his skin. It looked like he had been burned. All the way,
like he had been partially digested.
Well, but that, like because he had his acid. But he had his helmet on, so that's what I'm wondering. Was that stomach acid? What was that from? Because it's all over his head in the... Okay, so in the beginning of the episode, there's some flashbacks. There's current day, and then there's after he got rescued. And we do know, though, at least from The Mandalorian, that... Well, wait, how many years in advance is The Mandalorian? It's at least 10? 6 to 10, I think. Because, when Luke comes in at the end of The Mandalorian, he's still Return of the Jedi young. But I know now I need to look at the timeline. I want to say it's like close to 10 years later. I could be wrong.
Anyway.
But something like that. So we know that, Boba Fett has been living for a period of time. This is where, by the way, if you know how many years it is, do comment below, please, because that would actually help in this. We know, though, that he's been obviously healing from whatever happened there and that kind of thing. But what's interesting to me, though, is that he has all that stuff, in the flashback. But then in present day, it's not as bad. It's still there, but it's not as bad. And he's been using that back to tank to heal himself.
Right.
And he's using that over and over. Now, what I find interesting... So, okay, let's go through the journey a little bit on this one here. He escapes the Sarlacc. He gets robbed by Jawas, captured by Tuskens. And then, in this moment, he's trying to free the Rodian and all that and, whatever. But then he goes on like this journey with the kid to find the water thingies, the little, I don't know what those things are.
Yeah, the Tusken kid takes him out to dig for
water bowls.
Watermelons, basically.
Watermelons, yeah.
They're watermelons.
Yeah, so then they do that, and then at one point they get attacked by this creature that is like half snake, half Goro from Mortal Kombat, and it's got all his arms, which I thought was funny. Comes back, gets accepted by the tribe at that point. I think that's pretty much all we see in the first one. And then that's about it. Here's the water, blah, 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 whatever. Well, now we move to present day. He's on the throne. This is what's interesting to me, though, is that he's really changed. And we don't know how or why, but he's trying to be, in my opinion, kind of oddly benevolent and respectful and merciful.
He's trying to rule by respect rather than by fear, like Jabba did. So,
which is interesting considering he's a bounty hunter. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm not sure where that's going yet, but okay. But here's the thing.
To be honest, we never really knew what his personality was like before this. So I think it's totally believable.
Yeah, but he's a bounty hunter.
There's honor among bounty hunters. Absolutely.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Well, so then what has been interesting to me, though, is that, and again, I don't know the exact time period between the Sarlacc pit and where we are in present day, but he's every night in the back to tank regenerating. He is really weak in this first episode. In fact, it almost felt like he was a bit of a wuss. I mean, you think about, dude, Boba Fett's amazing. Now, he did some amazing stuff in The Mandalorian, if you remember. Yeah. And then in the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, he gets his butt kicked by those shield wielding ninjas, you know? It's like they come out and he's just getting killed. And if it weren't for Fennec, well, and then his Gamorrean guards, which that's another thing, he would have gotten his butt kicked. And I just thought, wait, where's the badass Boba Fett? You know, like I don't know, that was really weird to me. And I feel like they're going to have a story arc here, but why was he able to do a lot in The Mandalorian, but like he couldn't even take on 6 ninjas in the first episode?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see some sort of evolution in that regard. So
yeah, I'd like to know. Now the Gamorrean guard thing was really cool. I liked it because, you know, they were Jabba's guards. You see them at, you know, Return of the Jedi. Then they were part of Bib Fortuna, and then they come back, you know, you'll be loyal to me. So that's really cool. And I liked seeing them kind of come in and fighting for him and stuff like that, which was neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand, like, how long was he in the Sarlacc pit? Why is he so weak still? What's going on? Why does he need these back to treatments? Is he going to heal? I mean, I don't know. I'm just actually genuinely curious. Is this is one of those things that I get really concerned about with having seen The Mandalorian. Are they going to address his weakness in a way that is like, wow, okay, that totally makes sense. And, you know, he's risen up to a really amazing person now. Or are they going to just shove it under the rug like they have done before with certain story arcs? I don't know. That's what I want to know. So that's kind of a big deal that I hope they address that. I really do. But,
me too.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, I just feel like it was fun. Did the episode have a lot of story? Not kinda? A lot. I mean, it kind of did. You know, you see the story of him, obviously, like we just said, escaped the Sarlacc, captured by Tuskens. You see a little bit going on there. Now he's on the throne. Now he's trying to be benevolent. That's about it. There's really not a lot going on yet. And the thing that always concerns me, and this concerned me with The Mandalorian, is that, you know, it had 6 episodes per season, 8, 6 or 8, anyway.
Something like that.
And you know, it's not that many. It's like if you have a 23 episode season, then you've got some filler episodes, no big deal. But when you have such a short season, you don't have room for filler episodes. You really need to knock every single episode out of the park. And with The Mandalorian, they didn't do that. You know, there were some amazing episodes and there were some that you're just like,
why did we have to watch that? Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, it could have been a 4 episode season. Like, what the heck's going on here? So I'm worried that they're going to do that with the Book of Boba Fett again. It's kind of like we're going to get some. Now, to be fair,
it's the same show creators. So
I know, but to be fair, let's look at it this way. If The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett were 10 seasons and it's 6 to 8 episodes each season and they have a 10 season story arc, well, then they can take their time with some, you know, side quests and, you know, episodes that are more filler, but they actually do kind of build on things. You just don't know it because you haven't gotten to season 7 yet or whatever. You know, they could do that. Knowing Dave Filoni, he definitely has the capability to do something like that. He ties everything together very nicely. But what if they don't get renewed? Or what if the actors age out? Or what if the actors don't want to come back? Or whatever the case, or, you know, you have a Gina Carano issue again or something like that. You know, it's like, what happens if you can't fulfill that story arc 7 seasons from now? What did you leave us with? So I'm a little worried about that personally, just because of what we've seen with The Mandalorian. I mean, I've had a love-hate relationship with that show. And unfortunately, I'm worried that this is going to be one of those too, where it's going to be like, this episode was great. This one was terrible. This one was okay. This was great. You know?
Yeah, we'll see. I can say though, that I really don't feel certainly that they started establishing the story arc in episode 1. So we'll have to see what the next episodes bring. But I was hoping that like in the first episode of Mandalorian, they established the story arc right away. Like, here's Baby Yoda. Oh God. Here's Baby Yoda.
I need to get you a plushie.
I have to get him. You know, Mandalorian has to get him to say. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even remember what that story arc was anymore.
Get him to a Jedi.
But I feel like they established it better in the first episode of Mandalorian than they did in the first episode of Boba Fett. Even though I enjoyed it, they didn't. I don't feel like they established where they're going with this. You know, what is the overarching plot here with this series? So
yeah, and it's okay. It's okay that they haven't done that yet, as long as they do it.
Yeah,
as
long as they do it soon. You know,
true. I mean, you know, truthfully, if you look at seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, it does all tie together very nicely, and it did actually have a really cool come together. But then you look at some of those episodes and you just go, those really were not needed. They were filler. They didn't need to be there, especially when, again, it's just, my argument really comes down to when you have a short season, get to the point. When you have 23 episodes, do whatever you want, as long as you get to the point at the end of the season. Sure. That's fine. So that's, I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this one, but that's just kind of how I see things. But here's the thing. Of course, we're going to watch it. We're huge Star Wars fans. I like Boba Fett. I'm excited that they're doing some further development on him. I hope they don't let us down. But again, I'm not somebody who came up with a bunch of stories in my mind about what Boba Fett would be like. And so I'm not going into it with any expectations. I just want a good story. I want to be entertained, and I want it to be Star Wars level quality. And there were excellent episodes in The Mandalorian that left us just going, dang, that was so good. They can do it here too. So let's hope for that.
Yep.
There you go. Well, again, love to hear your thoughts on what you thought of episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. We'll come back. We'll do an episode 2 thing. We just thought, hey, we might as well, because it's coming out, every single week, we got to get into this and we got to talk about it instead of waiting, 6-8 weeks from now. We don't want to do that. So let us know what your thoughts were in the comments below. Did you like this episode? What do you think of the Book of Boba Fett so far? And again, our opinions are our opinions. It's our perspective. So, hey, you might have loved it, thought it was the greatest thing since the lightsaber was invented. Maybe you thought it was terrible. Maybe Jar Jar is better than this. I don't know, but you got to tell us what it is. I don't think anything's worse than Jar Jar.
Not even Baby Yoda.
No. Jar Jar is like, ugh. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Check out our Friday episodes of The Real Brian Show, of course. That's our fun little morning show style, all over the place variety show. We have a good time. It's just a great way to end the week, right? Friday Mesh Up. All the links are going to be below in the show notes, in the description, and all that below. But do leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel if you like this. We're going to be doing a lot more, and we're going to have a lot more fun with movies and TV show reviews. So thank you for joining us. Have a glorious week. Talk to you soon.